Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Ashley and today we are going to be doing my November TBR. So in the month of November I will be participating in 3 readathons. The first one is Pokemonathon, Believeathon and Clear Your Shit. So I just wasn't going to do 3 readathons originally. I was only going to do 1, but sadly as you can see that didn't happen. So I'm just gonna dive straight into the TBR because there are quite a few books I need to get to. So the first one is Pokemonathon, and this has been hosted by Jane over at the Bookaholic. So this is a 2-week readathon going from the 1st of November to the 18th in correspondence with the new Pokemon games coming out. So let's get into the TBR for that. So the first one I'm going to read in the month of November is a buddy read, and that is Scythe by Neil Shusterman. So this is a part of the Last to Read book club, and this is hosted by Mel over at the book fiend named Mel, along with Ellie from Earl Grey Books and Lana from Law Lullabies. So I will of course leave their channels both in the description box and link them up here for you guys to check out. So yes, we are starting the Arc of the Scythe series. So obviously this is a book per month read long, so we will be of course reading Scythe in November, book 2 in December and book 3 in January. So I'm quite excited to read this. I don't know too much about it. I know this has a lot to do with death and Death Reapers. Very, very keen to see how this goes. I know a lot of people quite enjoy this series, but yes, very excited to see what that is about. Okay, the second book I will be reading for Pokemonathon is another buddy read, and this has been hosted by Jace over at It's Me JC on Instagram. So I will leave a link to his Instagram so you can message him and join along. And this is going to be for A Liar of Bones by Helen Schurer. So this is an Australian-based author. I know Jace absolutely loves her books. This is the first in a new quartet, and this follows a young girl called, what's her name? Right, and she is basically a bone cleaner who is despised by her kind because I think her parents were thieves. And she's given the chance to participate in this tournament, which of course promises great adventure. I've never read any of Helen's books before. I do own her Heart of Mist trilogy, which I have not read, but I know Jace absolutely adores this series, so I'm quite interested to see what this is about and hopefully binge read it, because I do know a few people who have already started this and read it. Okay, so book number 3 is another buddy read I am doing, and this is part of the Fantasy Friends book club, and this one is going to be These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan. So I know this is quite, a lot of people have described it as very ACOTAR based. Now I did love the ACOTAR series when I first read it. I don't know whether I'd love it now. I would have to reread it again. But yes, so this is basically about a girl who makes a deal with a Fae king. Basically she has to go and rescue her sister from the Fae, but she makes a deal to steal something with the Fae king, and I have no doubt this will have a love triangle on it based on the reviews I have seen. So I'm quite excited to read this. It's only a YA fantasy. I'm quite into YA, as you guys know. But yes, I'm very keen to check this one out as well. Okay, the next one is another buddy read. Now, I'm doing quite a lot of buddy reads this month. So this one is a reread for me, however, but this one is Crescent City, or A House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. So this is a buddy read I'm doing along with Paige over at Pages with Paige. I will leave a link to her TBR video because that will have a link to the Discord for the buddy read for this. Now, as I said, this will be a reread for me because I did read it when it first initially came out. As you can see, it is quite a chunky book. So in this one we follow a half-fae, half-human girl called Bryce Quinlan, who is called in to investigate a series of murders, and this series of murders affected her 2 years previously. I won't go into too much detail about why that is because that does contain heavy spoilers, but yes, I'm quite excited to reread this. Initially I didn't like it as much as I thought during the first read. That may change having to go back and reread this, but obviously with book 2 coming out in, I think it's March or February next year, I do want to go back and read this because as you obviously can see, it is quite a chunky book, and there is quite a lot of different characters and plot elements that I've probably long forgotten. So yes, I'm quite excited to dive in and read that one. And the final book I will be reading for Pokemonathon is not a buddy read, so that was all the buddy reads, thankfully. But the last and final one I will be reading for Pokemonathon is The Mind Mortar by Samantha Shannon. So I did a spoiler-filled vlog where I reread the first book in the series. I will link that up here so you can check that out. So the bonus season follows a young girl called Paige who is a dream walker. And in this society she lives in, clairvoyance is illegal. And one day she is caught using her powers on the way to see her dad and is taken basically to this camp where she expects to die. So this is of course a sequel. I won't go into too much detail about what this is about, but this does have a lot of the crime gang syndicate elements that we didn't see in book one. So I'm quite excited to read this. I did reread it back in February after book 4 came out, but I just decided that I want to go and reread them again because it is just so interesting to pick up on all the little foreshadowing and minute details that Samantha Shannon has. So I'm quite excited to dive back into this bad boy. Okay guys, so the next one is Clear Your Shit. Now this is hosted over by Mouse and Art. So this is going to be a 2-month readathon, which kind of works in perfectly for me. Coming into December, I will probably not be uploading as much because it is getting quite close to Christmas, and working in the retail industry, obviously we all know it gets quite busy around that time of year. So I am quite thankful for this readathon. So basically, whatever books of this part I don't get read this month will go over into December. Because, yes, originally I wasn't going to do any readathons in December, but then Mel announced hers. So, yeah, that didn't happen. But the first 2 books I will quickly talk about for Clear Your Shit because I am bringing them over from last month's TBR. And they are Gods and Monsters by Shelby Mahern and Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakabody. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about what these are about. So these were my Spookpathon prompts for the month of October. But unfortunately, as I am filming this, I know I will not get around to reading them. So these are both, this is the sequel to The City of Brass, and this is the final book in the Serpent and Dove trilogy. So, as I said, I'm not going to go into too much detail about what these are about because, like I said, these were from my previous month's TBR because, sadly, I will not finish them as I am filming this. So that is those 2. So the first one I am going to pick up, the next one I am going to pick up for Clear Your Shit is one I am quite keen to get to, and that is 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim. So this follows a young princess who, essentially her family is cursed by this sorceress and the brothers are turned into cranes. And unfortunately she can't speak about it because if she does, the brothers will die. So essentially she is going to go on this quest to basically save her family. So I love Elizabeth Lim as a writer. I've read her first book, which was Spin the Dawn. I quite enjoyed that for what it was. Haven't read the sequel to Spin the Dawn yet, but I do hope to pick that up at some point. So yes, I'm quite excited to read this. I'm obsessed with the cover. And yes, very keen to hopefully pick this up in November. If not, it'll be December's read. Okay, the next one I'm going to read is probably one of the smallest books on my TBR, and that is The Shadows Between Us by Tricia Lavenseller. Now, this is the first book of hers I think I've read. I'm not quite sure whether I've read any other Tricia's work, but so this essentially follows a young girl who tries to marry the prince whose family murdered hers, and she is essentially going to try and kill him. But obviously, being YA, I have a feeling that maybe that won't happen. So, like I said, this is quite a small book. It's only about 300 pages, which for me is not really a big deal. But yes, quite keen to see what this is all about. And yeah. Now the next book I'm going to pick up for Clear Your Shit is one that I've been putting off for a little while because I don't know whether I may enjoy it. I'm possibly will, and that is Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerry Maniscalco. Probably stuffed that up, but so this follows a young girl called Amelia who, after the death of her sister, makes a deal with this Prince of Hell because she and her sister were witches, and she essentially tries to find out what happened to her sister. Now, I've only read one of Kerry's books before, which was Stalking Jack the Ripper. I do need to finish the Jack the Ripper series because I really love the first book. I am quite nervous about finishing that series because I have heard that they do go downhill in terms of writing, but hopefully that's not the case for me because I did really love Stalking Jack the Ripper. So this I hope I will love as well. I'm not quite sure where I'll sit on the fence with that, but we shall wait and find out. And the last one I'm going to be reading for Clear Your Shit is An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. So this is again another YA fantasy book. This is probably the lightest book on my TBR. So this follows a young painter who one day accidentally paints the Fairy King, and that is considered a crime. So she is basically taken away to the kingdom to be sentenced to death. But again, being YA, I have a feeling that this will have a love interest, love triangle kind of deal. I do love Margaret's writing. I just recently read Vespertine, which I absolutely adored. So I have a feeling I'll love this quite as much. Yes. So that is that one for my final book for Clear Your Shit. And the final readathon I will be participating in is the one we all probably know about, but I will plug it anyway, and that is Believeathon Escape from the Jungle. So this is the third and final round, hosted by Gab from How to Train Your Gavin. I am so sad that it is the last one, but I'm so glad that I can jump in and participate in the third and final round. So I originally was going to read 5 books for this, but I've decided with the books I have already that is probably going to be impossible. So I did a random number generator and picked 3 books, and I was quite lucky in getting the prompts I wanted. So the first prompt I got was to continue a series. Now this one I am very excited for because I'm going to be reading Wondersmith, The Calling of Morrigan Crow. So this is by Jessica Townsend, who is an Australian author. Now, the Nevermore series, we follow a young girl called Morrigan Crow, who is cursed as a child to die on her 16th birthday, until one day a guy called Jupiter North comes and takes her away to the wonderful land of Nevermore. But however, to stay in Nevermore, she has to pass this series of trials. So I really enjoyed the first book, gave it 5 stars. I'm very keen to jump into this one. I know a lot of people, even Gav, really love this series. I'm quite keen to pick up the second one. Like I said, love the first one, gave it 5 stars. I cannot rant about that book enough. So yes, I'm very excited to pick up the book 2 in the Nevermore series. The next one I got was a 2021 release. Now I'm very excited for this one as well because I will be reading Dark Waters by Catherine Arden. So this is the 3rd book in her, I can't remember, Small Voices series. I think that's what it's called. Don't quote me on that. I will edit it in down below if I do stuff that up. Yeah, so each book is essentially a different character's point of view. So we had the main protagonist in the first one, and the second 2 obviously follow her 2 best friends. So this one is set around Scotland from my memory, and it essentially follows this theory that the Loch Ness Monster does actually exist. So I'm quite keen to pick this up. I'm hoping the library gets it before the end of November, otherwise I may have to find it on ebook. But yes, very excited to pick up Dark Waters, and yes, another great series I am very keen to continue on with. And the final one I got was a childhood book. Now I do have 2 options for this. I may get to both of them, but if not, the one I'll probably pick up is Meg and Mog. So this is obviously a very short book, but I loved Megan Bog when I was a kid. I absolutely thought it was the cutest thing ever. And being a cat lover, obviously, it's a book about, it has witches and cats in it. What more could you want? But the other one I will pick up, hopefully, is Matilda by Roald Dahl. So I don't need to explain to you guys what Matilda is about. It's one of the absolute classics. I love this growing up. I absolutely devoured it in primary school. And yes, I'm very, very excited to be hopefully read Matilda in Believeathon. Okay, so if I can pick these up. Oh my god. So these, is that gonna, no, okay, it's not gonna be, they're not all gonna be in shot, but this is essentially probably my biggest TBR month yet, I think. Oh, actually no, I don't think it is. No, probably not. So this is quite ambitious, but like I said earlier, holy crap, it's heavy, I'm gonna put them down. Oh no, I'm going to lose it. So hopefully I will get to those books all through the month of November. But like I said, with Clear Your Shit, that is a 2-month long readathon. So whatever I don't get read for that, I will bring over into December's TBR, which works for me perfectly. Because like I said, having worked in retail for 12 years, we all know that Christmas gets especially busy. So I may not have a lot of time to read in December, but we shall see how it goes. So that is it from me for this video. I hope you guys liked it. Please let me know down in the comments what you guys are reading. If your TBR is ambitious as mine is. Why do I set myself challenges like this? I do not know. But that is it from me from another video. I hope you guys really liked it. If you haven't, please subscribe, like and subscribe already. And I shall see you guys in the next one.